Hey y'all, welcome to Heritage Ways. Welcome to Heritage House. I am Miss Katie, and I'd like to have a short little chat with you by the fire. Mr. Patient and I are sitting by the fire and enjoying it, but I'd like to talk to you for just a few minutes, especially about beginning prepping, if you will. There are so many folks out there that all of a sudden they're like, oh my word, what do I do? And I want to tell you 2 or 3 ways or tips or beginning points that you can use. The Proverbs 31 woman looked well to the ways of her household. So I want to just help you do that today. So come join me and we will have a chat by the fire. A lot of folks right now are finding themselves in a mindset or a mentality or situation where they're thinking all of a sudden, oh my, what do I do if the stores continue to have shortages or this happens or that happens? I'm filming this February 25th, 2022, just as a reference point. Now, in the past, there have been people who use the word prepping and SHTF and all that kind of stuff. And for years, for 30 or something years, I would hear that and I would think, okay, those people are just those people. And, you know, that's their thing, but of course, that's not me. But for the past more than 30 years, I have been operating our home as a homemaker and been keeping the home, and I have been doing things like what they now call prepping, but it's just preparing for tomorrow, for next week, for 6 months from now, for when I'm going to have the baby in the future. You know, I'm talking about, you know, when I had children, I would prep, I would prepare. Prep is just a short word, nick for prepare. But I would just prepare. And so I think wise women, wise home keepers, which could be men or women, people who keep a home, are just wise to prepare. And I want to encourage y'all that maybe those people who really think that right now, oh my word, I don't even have any groceries I could use for next week if I couldn't get to the grocery store and so forth. So I just want to encourage those folks and maybe give a bolster to those who have been preparing and or prepping, if you want to use that word, for years. Now, those people that prepped or prepared on a larger scale for the past 30 years than I have right now, they don't look so, you know, much like strange. They don't look so strange now. But we can only start where we are. So I encourage you, and I know you've heard it 100 times, start where you are. Use what you have. Just start today. I feel like that I have been preparing for this time all of my life almost. And when I say that, we are in a very turbulent time. It's becoming more and more turbulent and dark. The world is as we speak. And I don't know where we're headed. I don't know where my family is headed as far as situations. Of course, I don't. And I always trust the Lord in all things and put Him first and seek His will. But I have been reading material. I have been drawn to and reading material, cookbooks, and not just cookbooks, but homekeeping books for pretty much all of my life. And I'm going to be 55 years old this year, Lord willing. And I have been reading, I've got stacks of books that I could recommend to you. We could talk about some of those if y'all were interested. I have talked about some of my favorite cookbooks in other videos. I have at least 2 videos where I talk about my favorite cookbooks. And I have collected recipes from the old time cooks from when I grew up in the old, you know, in the country church down deep in the country. Wonderful cooks, folks who have been through Depression era back then that, you know, they had and their parents had. And I learned from my great grandmother. I learned from my great aunts, my grandparents, and so forth. And I always listened. I always enjoyed listening to those stories. And I learned so much, and I banked so much information in my head and in my heart. And it's really from that information. And, my mother had me cooking at 5 years old, or helping in the kitchen at a young age. So really 50 years of just absorbing all that type of frugal information, homekeeping is really what I pour into my videos, my 2 cookbooks that I've written, and my website, and just anything that I produce, and the cookbook that I'm writing now. So I can leave links to those down below, but all of that type of mentality, frugal homekeeping and so forth, is really poured into those books. So those books would be even more relevant to today's time and events. But one thing that I encourage y'all to do is to listen to the older people. Now, I was born in the late 60s. So I remember my great-grandparents who were born in the 1800s. I remember talking to them. I remember the stories. And so you may be younger or older than I am, but just now is a great time to listen to those people and their stories of victory through hard times, and how the Lord brought them through, and what they did specifically, things they cooked, things they grew in their garden, and so forth. The second thing I would encourage you to do is to write out menus. And remember, I'm talking specifically to folks who probably are new to this type of, storing food and that kind of thing, or preparing for more than just a week or 2 weeks. So write out your menus. And I will tell you to, on my website, just for reference, just for kicks, as Mr. Patient says, you might go to my website, which I will link that specific webpage down below in the description box. You'll want to open the description box of this video so that you can see the links that I'm going to share. But I have just some real life menus suggestions, meal ideas on the website. And those are from years past, but they are real life things that we ate. And I've always tried to cook frugally. There have been many times, of course, that we've splurged for, birthdays and holidays especially, and guests coming. But we've never had huge grocery budgets that we could spend on a weekly basis. So even when we were raising our 3 older children who are sons, they're adults now, and they have their own homes, and I would say to them, especially when money was especially tight, I would set the meal before them, and I would say, this is poor people's food. Now, I did not mean that in any derogatory way against folks who had less money than we did, but there were many times when I had to scrape together a meal, from what I had or what we could afford. And the Lord always provided, but it was not ever sometimes it was not extravagant. But Mr. Patient and the 3 big boys, I call them big boys because we have the 3 littles, but the 3 boys, they would always say, this is our favorite kind of food. It's just down home or soul food, cooking, Southern cooking. And I would just call it poor people's food, just for something funny almost. But I can pull together a meal just from a few ingredients, or just some things somebody sets on my counter. And so that is something else. Actually, I'm jumping. That's my 3rd point or 4th point I wanted to share with you. So I'm kind of jumping ahead. But I will go ahead and throw that point in here, that it's a great time to learn. I don't want you to panic about, I don't know these things, and I haven't been preparing, and I haven't been listening to these people who've been saying these things for years or for months. Don't panic. But now is a good time to learn. Seek out somebody who can help you, and I want to try to bring you more content about this as well. But learn how to use what you have. If you just have these 4 ingredients, what can I do with them? don't say, well, I don't have this in the recipe, so I can't make it. But learn substitutions and learn how to use the things that you have. Now, one way to do that is to, seek out people who are teaching that on videos and such. You can look at Pinterest and you can look at all kinds of online things, but what if you didn't have the internet one day? So I encourage you to buy books now. We like thrift books. That's where we get most every book that we buy now, or eBay, or the thrift store, Goodwill and such like that. But I encourage you to buy real books, and I've been encouraging you to do that for quite some time. I just like a real book in my hand. And another side tip is to go to the library first and check out the books to see if you want to buy them, and then you can order them used from some of those places I just mentioned. So that is a really good tip, is to have the hard copy books at your home, and you can sit by your own fire, or you can sit at home and you can read those, and you won't even have that blue glare from your screen and so forth. So that is a couple of tips I threw in there that I hadn't planned on. But so I'm back to writing out your menus. Now, I want to encourage you, when you're writing them out, this is what I do. We have the same breakfast foods just about every week, and we've done that for years. Over 20 years. So on Sundays we have certain things, on Mondays certain things, Tuesdays certain things, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Even to the point that many of my children, I have 6, many of them learn the days of the week by, oh, it's Wednesday, so it must be pancake. I mean, it's pancake day, so it's Wednesday. So just, I encourage you to repeat meals, especially in this time that you're trying to learn how to prepare better. So repeat the meals and have the meals that you like. Don't plan. This is not a time to plan meals and menus of gourmet recipes that you've never tried before. This is a time for meals that your family likes, the tried and true, which is what my first cookbook is. It is tried and true all the way. Well, both of them are, but the first cookbook has stories and things to go along. Now, with supper time, you can have themes. I know many of you do this. Many of us homemakers have been doing this kind of thing for years. But for example, Sunday night is typically either leftovers. Years ago at our house, it used to be just popcorn. Now it's kind of whatever you can get, or leftovers and that kind of thing. Monday can be meatless Monday if you want it to. You can have bean soup. You can have eggplant parmesan. You can have zucchini lasagna. So there are different things you can have, and just leave the meat out. So there are different things you can do. Tuesday, a lot of people have Taco Tuesday, but you can have taco salad, taco soup, tacos, enchiladas, burritos, quesadillas, and all that kind of same family of food, so it's the same type of ingredients. Wednesday at our house, we have for years had breakfast for supper. It started out when we got the littles, actually, when we got them as foster children, and we doubled the size of our family size overnight. And Mr. Patient, to help me out, he would come home on Wednesday nights and he would make scrambled egg sandwiches for supper, and that's how he helped me by doing that on Wednesday nights. That idea has just kind of carried over, and now we usually, of course there are exceptions, but we have a breakfast type food. It could be a breakfast casserole, it could be scrambled egg sandwiches, it could be something like that. Tuesday, just more suggestions. You could have maybe a large cut of meat night, whether it's in the crock pot, Instant Pot, or the stove. That's a pot roast, a pork roast, that kind of thing. A ham. And if that's too expensive right now, I understand. It could be casserole night, and you could do that. And Fridays is always pizza night in our house, hands down. That's what it is. So you can have homemade pizza or order out if you can afford that. Saturdays at our house, in this stage of life, season of life, for the past few years, or in recent years rather, has been like a brunch. So we will have just brunch, like 10, 10:30, 11, even on work days. Like if it's a summer work day, usually Mr. Patient will get up on a Saturday in the summer and he'll go outside and start working, and I will still have brunch and not a breakfast and a lunch. So it'll be a big brunch. For example, this is Saturday, and I made homemade pancakes. It's my overnight pancake recipe that's in my first cookbook, and I had local sausage. Typically, we have potatoes and eggs and the whole bit, but that particular recipe makes a lot of batter, and it calls for 6 eggs, 4 cups of yogurt, and milk, and so forth. So that's a lot of ingredients, but they are good and healthy and hearty. They had wheat flour, and so that's what we had for brunch today. So that maybe gives you ideas. I like to have the kids to help, especially John Boy is a very good help in the kitchen. He likes to cook, but he also likes clear directions. And so I know I keep referring to my cookbook a lot, but I wrote my cookbooks as tools to help me. And the second one I kept in mind directions of, would my children understand this when they read this recipe? And so I hand John Boy the cookbook, and now he can make the English muffin pizzas. He can make white lasagna. He can make, for lunches, nachos, the white tacos. So those are some things we have every week, and he helps, and he's a great help. And the other two will help as well, but he's becoming the primary kitchen help because he just likes it and wants to learn how to cook. So all that to say, there are many ideas, many things you can do, but I want you to learn to start making menus. Now, even if you just start making menus just for one meal, like just breakfast all week, or lunch all week, or supper or dinner, do that. And then if you want to put that in a preparedness sense, or to be prepared, what I have started doing is not something I've been doing in the past, but I sat down the other day and I wrote down, for 6 months, how much food will we need to complete all those breakfasts? So for 24 weeks, 5 of us in the house, and if we have, say muffins and boiled eggs on every Sunday morning, then how many eggs would I need? Now, I'm not going to go out and buy that many, but that helps me to get at one time up front. But that helps me to get an idea of how much food I'm going to need. Or if it's something I can store, or something I can make in bulk, if I can make bagels or English muffins, or buy them and put them in the freezer. So I want to encourage you to make your menus. And like I said, start small if you have to. Do just breakfast for a week, and then you'll rotate it, or just lunch. For example, our white tacos that we make, it's canned chicken and canned white beans, and you can do have your own homemade canned, and taco shells and cheese and salsa. So I did the math, and how much of those ingredients would I need to store to have 6 months worth? So that is what I'm encouraging you to do as far as being prepared and menu planning. All right, well, those are my tips. They're not, they're kind of all mixed together, kind of like a casserole. But I hope that those helped you to listen to older folks, to read and acquire hardback material. And on that note, if you're interested or concerned about the idea of the possibility of losing internet service at any point, losing contact with like-minded people, people who are homemakers, men and women who are homemakers and keeping a home, keeping a farm, keeping a homestead, in urban or rural, then I would like to remind you that Heritage Ways community, the folks that make up and support Heritage Ways, do have a newspaper, and it's called The Journal. Let me find one. Here's one from November 2021, and it's called The Journal. Let me put my glasses on. But you can subscribe to that journal for a year. The subscriptions are for a year. And there is News from Home, which is what folks write. Just anybody who wants to writes in. Excuse me. And it's just literally news from home. What am I quilting? What am I gardening? What am I canning? What am I cooking? I have questions about this. Can you help me? And it's from folks from the, southern border of Texas up to New England and Canada and West Coast, from folks all over the world reading the magazine, the Netherlands. So then we have, in this particular issue, we have an ad because I like to encourage small business, local and cottage businesses to run ads because I love to support local. We have the Pantry section, which consists of a lot of recipes and things like that. We do have, nobody on the staff gets paid, including myself, but we do have a staff, volunteer staff, who contributes and helps in many ways. And Emily takes care of that pantry section. There's Terry, takes care of the inspiration. We have healing oils information, home remedies, Nancy's nutrition. She's a wonderful contributor. The good steward section. And then fun things like trivia from home. Then we've got a crossword puzzle. And we've got the bookshelf. You can give, I could go on and on. We've got the community board where this is free to say, I'm looking for so-and-so tool, or I'm looking for so-and-so recipe that my granny made and I can't find it. This is an excellent section. If you are a subscriber, maybe still are, for the Country magazine from years ago, quite honestly, that's where I got this idea to put this community board. And, say you're looking for a certain kitchen tool or a farm implement or whatever, you can put that in here. John, your button's buzzing. John, your pizza's ready.
He's downstairs.
Do you mind getting him? John's making supper. So anyway, I will put information to subscribe to this down below. And I only bring this up at this point in time because you never know if, you just never know. You just never know. And this keeps us in communication and contact with each other. And like I said, all of the costs, especially right now, that all of the subscription fees, excuse me, go to cover the cost of the journal, because paper's gone up, postage has gone up, ink cartridges have gone up, and our prices have not gone up for the journal. So that too is another resource for you. So I hope I've given you plenty of resources and some encouragement for new folks who are just now realizing they probably need to prepare for, say, next month, not to mention 6 months from now. And I hope that I have encouraged and inspired those of us who've been doing it for years to just keep on. And please make sure you drop your comments down below. What do you do in reference to the things that I've said regarding meal planning, menu planning? Do you rotate your meals? I'd be very interested to know how you handle this, and it will contribute to the community here, and we can all learn and get value from each other. So I welcome you here at Heritage House. This is where I cook up a cozy home with old-fashioned family values, and I hope you have felt that here today. I'll see you next time. I'm Miss Katie with Heritage Ways. Bye-bye.